webinars and hope that you would take down this information should you want to provide, contact us at our mailbox at cw@collegeboard.org. During the webinar, should you have questions, please submit those questions using the chat feature located in the top menu on your screen. To submit a question, click on the chat icon, type your question into the chat dialog box, select all panelists from the Send drop-down menu, and click Send, Enter. Those questions will come directly to the panelists, and we will be able to answer those at the conclusion of the webinar. Today, I am happy to introduce to some and present to others Ms. Jennifer Karen, who is an Executive Director in our SAT, PSAT, NMSQT assessment programs. Jennifer comes to the College Board and has been with the College Board for a number of years with a background in education as a teacher and with testing preparation companies that provide a background of knowledge that supports the work that we are doing here at the College Board. My name is Laurie Benton. I'm a Senior Director in the Membership Mobilization and Engagement Department. I come to the College Board with experience, of course, in education as a former school counselor, which lends to the conversations that we have to support the work that counselors do on a daily basis. So we welcome you here today to this webinar to answer questions regarding our redesigned assessments, but particularly focus on the opportunities and the benefits related to the PSAT NMSQT program. Today's agenda will include opening remarks and overview of the redesigned PSAT NMSQT, the benefits of the PSAT NMSQT assessment, ordering and test administration information, and specific counselor tools and resources to support your work. And as I indicated earlier, we will conclude with questions and answers regarding topics that come up during the presentation. At this time, I'd like to transfer the control to Ms. Jennifer Karen.
Thanks so much, Lori. I appreciate the introduction, and thank you all for joining us today. I am going to spend, although this slide says the redesigned SAT suite of assessments, within the suite today we are going to focus largely and specifically on the PSAT NMSQT and some of the other earlier grade PSAT assessments. I'll put all of that in context for you. We'll also provide some overview information so that we figure out, so that we're helping you understand where all these assessments fit and what their relationship is to one another. So for those of you who have sat in on some of these webinars prior, some of this information may be a little bit repetitive, but it helps provide the context and focus for what we're doing here today. With that, I am attempting to forward the slide, and it is not. Do I have to do it up here? Ah, magic. And Lori has magic that I do not. And now we will continue with the presentation. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm taking the middle chunk of this presentation. And so the first thing we're going to do is go through an overview of the redesigned PSAT NMSQT. And what I want to highlight for you here is that it sits in the middle of PSAT 8-9 and PSAT and SAT, where it really is a good check-in and focus on what students need to know and make sure that their skills are on track. Our research very clearly tells us that college and career readiness is not a single point in time, and in fact it's a process that requires students to focus on what matters most to be on target for college readiness. And so what we have here is a suite of 3 assessments that are tied to each other, not only through a single set of domain and research backbone, but also through common content and a common scale that measures student growth and readiness. Working together, these assessments provide useful benchmarks and consistent feedback for measuring that student progress over time, and we'll show you what that means more demonstrably as we get deeper into the presentation. And that information will allow teachers to accelerate students who are either ahead or behind. So for those of you who are familiar with ReadyStep, PSAT 8-9 replaces the current ReadyStep assessment and will serve as the foundation for understanding students' progress as they enter high school. The first PSAT 8-9 administration will happen in October of this year, and it will provide benchmarks and norms at both the 8th grade and the 9th grade levels. PSATNMSQT and its fraternal twin, PSAT-10, is a check-in on student progress and pinpoints areas for improving readiness. There are also many benefits associated with the PSAT-NMSQT, and we'll talk about that as we go through this presentation. And then finally, as many of you are familiar, the SAT provides a powerful connection to college. So with that, let's take a look at PSAT-10 and PSAT-NMSQT. In the context of the redesigned SAT suite of assessments, PSAT-NMSQT has, as I mentioned, a fraternal twin called PSAT-10. They together are the same test, though slightly different forms per administration, and the main differences are the administration dates and the tie to national merit. So in the fall, the assessment is called PSAT-NMSQT, and it's tied to national merit entry. The test will be offered on 2 dates in October, as it has historically been, and continues to be available to be administered to both 10th and 11th graders. But consistent with policies, it's typically only 11th graders who are eligible for national merit recognition. The focus of today's presentation will be the PSAT-NMSQT, which is being administered this fall in October. So what we're going to spend a few minutes doing now is taking a look at how PSAT-NMSQT falls within the assessments and how the grade appropriate nature of the content as it progresses across the assessments, but also how that content is clearly tied across each of the assessments. So what you'll notice on this slide, and I'm not going to go through each of these elements, but I'm going to call out some of them specifically for you. The idea here is that at a reading level, what you see for PSAT 8-9 is fairly simple one-step conclusions or determining explicit meaning from a graphic or text. These are basic reading comprehension skills, but then as you see they progress up through the SAT, where we're talking about performing several steps to draw the right conclusion from a text, or synthesizing information from a graphic and a passage together. PSAT-10 and PSAT-NMSQT sit in the middle, where we're starting to have students develop those skills a little bit at a slightly more complex level than PSAT 8-9, but not at the level of SAT. So you start to get some of those more subtle inferences. The students will need to infer somewhat more complicated relationships based on information in the text that may not be as explicitly stated, and also recognizing trends in graphical data. When we look at how that translates across writing and language, you start to see, and I think this is the one that most clearly calls it out, is the top one, using punctuation effectively in simple context, such as using commas to separate items in a list. And when you get to SAT, it's using punctuation effectively in challenging context, such as using a semicolon to link independent clauses. And so PSAT-10 and PSAT-NMSQT, again, sit in the middle, where you start to see things like colons, which are often less challenging than semicolons in their usage. And then you see how that progresses across some of the other areas here, straightforward sentences, through compound and complex sentences, through editing syntactically challenging sentences, including lengthy sentences that can include several clauses. So again, you start to see the same skills are being tested at each point, but the complexity and the level starts to change. From a vocabulary perspective, PSAT 8-9 might see words like carefully or continue, versus SAT in context would see words like gingerly and perpetuate. So carefully versus gingerly, continue versus perpetuate, and you start to see the complexity of vocabulary progress, but again, that will all be in the context of a passage, and students will have all of that contextual information to leverage as they use information to glean their correct answers. At the math level, you start to see the difference between many items requiring 1 or 2 steps to solve versus many items requiring 2 or more steps to solve, and then the SAT with emphasis on multi-step problems. So you start to, again, see the progression across the skills. If you look at the bottom of the slide, you see it may require the use of properties of right triangles, progressing to requires the use of trigonometric relationships, to actually using trigonometry. So again, you see the progression, but the skills and the content stay the same, and you can see how that information progresses over time. So again, setting the stage, and some of you may have seen this slide before, we're taking a look at all the scores and sub-score information that will be reported on the redesigned SAT and across the entire suite of assessments. So the PSAT NMSQT will report the same scores as are being reported for the SAT, so everything you see on this slide will be reported. And in the coming slides, we'll take a look at what the score ranges for PSAT NMSQT will look like when placed on a vertical scale with the rest of the assessments. So breaking this down, SAT scores reported and PSAT NMSQT, well, SAT scores for starters here reported will be including the total score, which will go up to the 1600 scale. And then at the next level down, you see the two key section scores, evidence-based reading and writing being one section, and math being the other section. Each of those goes up to 800. And then at the next level, you see the two cross-test scores on the 10 to 40 scale. So analysis in science and analysis in history and social studies span the entire breadth of the test because the items that make up those scores come from all sections of the test. And then at the next level down, you see the test level scores. So you have an independent reading test, you have the writing and language test, which together make up the evidence-based reading and writing section, and then you have the math level score, which ties to the section score. And so math is really equivalent to math, but the reason we report it out again at the test level is so that you can see it against the individual reading and writing and language tests. And then below that dotted line, you get at each of the 7 sub-scores, some of which are unique to their tests and some of which span across 2 tests, such as words in context and command of evidence, which span across both the reading test and the writing and language test. So I will make a quick call out here that when we look at PSAT 8-9, there is a sub-score that is not reported for PSAT 8-9, and that's Passport to Advanced Mathematics because there just isn't that much advanced mathematics happening at that grade level. So now let's take a look at what all of this means specifically in the context of the redesigned PSAT NMSQT. Okay, so really what we're talking about here is the ability to monitor progress across several years. As you can see on this slide, the PSAT NMSQT score ranges will vary slightly from the SAT score ranges. And I will offer the caveat that some of the PSAT NMSQT and PSAT 8-9 information is still under research, but the concept and the construct that exists on this slide will continue to be the case. This information, we believe, will be actually very helpful for educators and students because the scores provide a gauge of how prepared a student is for the SAT. For example, a 500 in math means that the student would be expected to also score a 500 in math if he or she took the SAT on the same day. So a 500 on the PSAT NMSQT means that a student would be expected to score that same on the SAT if they took it on the same day. There are no more zeros to add, and the student and educator have a pretty good idea of where the student is in relation to his or her goals. Additionally, having test and cross-test scores that are also on the same vertical scale provide even more information about student strengths and student weaknesses. Sub-scores on the redesigned assessments will not be vertically aligned, but will be on the same scale as each other. So sub-scores provide even more information, allowing students to pinpoint specific areas for improvement. And students will know that they scored a 500 in evidence-based reading and writing, specifically that they can see the reading test score was stronger than the writing and language test score, and even more specifically that he or she struggled with expression of ideas as evidenced by a lower sub-score in that area. So you start to see very clearly that when we align the skills vertically, as we showed you on the previous slide, the scoring is now vertically aligned as well, and that means that you start to be able to really follow along the student's progress very clearly. So the quick summary, the benefit here is the ability to directly communicate with students, teachers, schools, districts, and states about the progress of students both individually and in groups. And the scores on each test are equivalent, so progress between tests is a straightforward look at the difference between the results. The differences in the difficulty on the assessments become clear, and the variation in the score ranges allows students taking PSAT 8-9 to get a full range of information, especially and even at the lower end, without compromising the upper end differentiation in either PSAT 10/PSAT/NMSQT and moving on to the SAT. And I expect that there are probably going to be some questions on these, and we will definitely leave time at the end to make sure that we have the opportunity to answer those. So with respect to other benefits of the PSAT-NMSQT, we've done a lot of work to expand scholarship opportunities, and building on our long-standing and close relationship with National Merit, we've recently announced additional scholarship partnerships representing nearly $180 million available to students through their PSAT-NMSQT results. And those are coming through relationships with the United Negro College Fund, the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, the Asian American and Pacific Island Scholarship Fund, the American Indian Graduate Center, and the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation. What this really means is that students who select into the opportunity to have their information shared, these organizations will now be better able to find students who qualify for opportunities that they already offer, but that students may not have been able to easily find before. So part of this is really making this much more scholarship opportunities much more apparent and available to students. PSAT-NMSQT is the nation's largest pre-college assessment, and we test more students than any other assessment. In October 2014, a record 3.8 million students took the assessment. Because of this reach, we can offer more students opportunities for accessing college than ever before, and therefore tying them to these scholarship opportunities. By expanding this access earlier in high school, we can inform students' decisions about pursuing college and change their trajectories to focus on college. Students who may not otherwise have been aware that they were eligible for scholarship opportunities now have these doors open for them. And we continue to look for ways to expand these and other scholarship opportunities for PSAT-NMSQT takers. This is a really key focus of the College Board right now, and we really want to broaden that access and that opportunity for all students. So we have in previous webinars talked in greater detail about the mechanics of Khan Academy, and our next month's webinar will also once again focus on Khan Academy, but I wanted to take you through some of the key opportunities and benefits here without focusing terribly deeply on Jeff's path to success, which we have done previously and we can do again in the next month. But in addition to offering free practice resources through our partnership with Khan Academy, we're providing personalized practice plans to every student who goes into the Khan Academy platform so that he or she can strengthen those essential readiness skills. Additionally, by collaborating with teachers and community-based organizations such as the Boys and Girls Club, and we're working with others as well, we're ensuring that as many students as possible can take advantage of these resources. So really what we want to focus on there is students who may, for a variety of reasons, be constrained, not have a safe place to study, may not have online access. We're actually working with organizations to make sure that students can find a safe place to study and that they will have online access. And one of those key partnerships is through the Boys and Girls Club, where there are over 4,000 locations across the country. Additionally, students will be able to send score data. They'll be able to link their College Board and Khan Academy accounts in order to create personalized practice plans, as I mentioned a moment ago. They'll need to have taken a redesigned assessment, in other words, either PSAT 8-9, PSAT 10, PSAT-NMSQT, or the SAT in order to be able to create a personalized plan. Scores for the current test cannot be used to create a redesigned SAT practice experience. If a student has not completed a redesigned College Board exam or chooses not to share scores, Khan Academy will administer a diagnostic assessment in order to create that practice plan. Note that Khan Academy will use more than just the scores to create personalized study plans. In fact, they'll receive full item-level metadata, but no personal student data. So, for example, what will happen is, instead of just receiving information about whether a student got the right answer or the wrong answer, they'll get all of the information that says this was a very commonly selected wrong answer, or this was the easy wrong answer to select, or this was the most difficult wrong answer. They'll get a lot of additional information rather than just right or wrong, so that the customization of that practice plan will be very deep in the details of a student's academic experience. There will also be that personalized roadmap, which constantly evolves and is based on student results, progress, and new learnings that Khan Academy will have both from them and from other students. And then there will be practice tests with scoring. So the College Board is writing practice tests for the Khan Academy platform, written by the same team that is writing the operational exam. Students will be able to take these practice tests online or in paper and pencil format through downloading and printing PDFs, or through the published retail book. So a distinction that I do want to call out there is that the published book, what is colloquially known as the Big Blue Book, or the official SAT practice book, the tests in that book will be same, 4 of those tests will be the same as 4 of those tests that are on Khan Academy. So it will not be additive, it will be repetitive, so students can either download and print that material, or they can do it in the book, but it's similar material, it's not independent material. If they take the paper and pencil tests, they will, in the fall, be able to take a picture of their answer grid through a smartphone app that we're building, which will give students an immediate score and integrate the results into their Khan Academy profile, feeding further adaptation and personalization. What I do want to call out for those of you who are very familiar with My College Quick Start is that this will replace the the SAT study plan portion of My College Quick Start. Students will be going through Khan Academy for that resource. So a couple of other things, a couple of other resources that live in My College Quick Start and some other places. Just want to let you know how these are being deployed and developed as we're moving forward into the redesigned assessment. So right now, students access their online score reports through their College Board account. And they will be able to do that going forward, but this account replaces the My Online Score Report through their College Quick Start. In other words, students will be able to access an online score reporting portal that will contain all of their College Board college readiness assessments in one place. So they won't be going through My College Quick Start for that anymore. They'll be going through a different reporting portal. The current My College Quick Start will remain available through December 2015, January 2016, somewhere in that time frame, for students who took the PSAT-NMSQT in 2014. But beginning with this year's administration of the PSAT-NMSQT in October, My College Quick Start will be transitioning to this new student reporting portal that will be accessible through the student's College Board account. So one of the things we will be encouraging students to do is to make sure that they create that online account, because that is where they will be able to receive not only their results, but also a lot of additional resources and information. When students receive their paper score reports this December or January, they will be directed to log into their College Board accounts for more detailed score information. Students who don't have that account will obviously be directed to create one. The information that students use to create the account should match the information used to register for the PSAT-NMSQT. So I make that call out because that will make things much easier for everybody down the road if students make sure that they use matching information for both their registrations, for their College Board account, and their assessments. If the information does not match, an access code will be provided on the score report that can be used to force match the student scores into the student account. So that safeguard and that caveat will be there, and of course, if all else fails, there's always customer service. Once in the account, students will be able to see all of the detailed score information and review test questions and answers. once the College Board student account has been created, the student will also be able to go back to this account for all future SAT suite of assessment scores. So it'll be this one place where all of that information will live rather than having to go here for a paper report, oh my goodness, I lost it, where's my College Quick, all of those kinds of things that we hear can be challenging. These same reporting capabilities are available for PSAT 8-9 and PSAT 10. SAT scores will also be available through the student account. However, question and answer review will not be available since the SAT is typically not disclosed, but Q&A service will still be available for the disclosed forms in October for the U.S. and in May. That was a lot of information right there, I know that. So moving on to AP Potential, which is one of the key benefits of the PSAT NMSQT. Educators will still see AP Potential data in the AP reporting tool, but not through the SAT Suite of Assessments reporting portal. So you'll have that information where you've always had it, not through the SAT Suite of Assessments reporting portal, but there is an SAT Suite of Assessments reporting portal for educators, which I think I will be spending a moment talking about. Even though AP Potential tool aren't on the same site, if your user account has permission for both, you won't need to re-log in. So we are trying to take a lot of steps to make accessing this information from one place to the other simpler and cleaner and easier. So what I do want to note here is that students will also be able to access this information through their student account, and that will also replace what's available currently through My College Quick Start. So from an online college planning perspective, I know that many of you are probably familiar with MyRoad, and MyRoad will continue to exist through the 2015-2016 school year. We're not planning any changes to the information that helps students discover who they are and what they might achieve and explore college majors and learn about careers from professionals in the real world. Their MyRoad account will be accessible from their College Board account and tied to the resources currently available on bigfuture.org. We are in the process of exploring additional and different ways of having students do career exploration in more sort of real-world opportunities. That's under discussion right now, and we will be glad to share that information with you as things start to firm up. But for now, for the upcoming school year, MyRoad will still continue to exist in all the ways you know it. In terms of making sure that students have access to this information that is available to them from scholarships to also making college connections, we strongly encourage students to answer yes to the Student Search Service questions on their answer sheet when they take the PSAT NMSQT. Participation is definitely voluntary, and students may stop participating at any time by contacting Student Search Service, and they can also opt in and out, which we do see some students do. But we believe that making this information more regularly available to colleges and universities and scholarship providers will be helpful to students because they don't always pull data at exactly the same time. And so their time frames may be a little bit different. So when students opt in and out, they are sometimes opting themselves out of some opportunities. Some of the key reasons to participate is that while most college-bound students opt into Student Search Service to receive information about colleges and scholarships, they do this without being solicited by commercial entities. So we don't actually share any student information with commercial entities, and we actually screen very carefully for all this, for all the people who are actually able to receive this information. Participation in Student Search is a great way to understand what colleges offer and gain insight into their application processes, potentially available financial aid packages, as well as campus life. Right now, more than 1,100 colleges, universities, and scholarship programs use Student Search every year to find students for their programs, scholarships, and special activities. So right now I want to transition into some information about ordering and test administration. And this information may be particularly important for those of you who also happen to be PSAT NMSQT coordinators or were formerly ReadyStep coordinators, but also this information will be made available to those of you who fulfill those roles through other vehicles as well. So I'm really going to operate at a little bit of a high level here and share some key information, but this is not intended to be a coordinator seminar on these topics. and I may or may not be able to answer deep questions in this particular category. Just putting that out there. So the ordering site is opening this month for PSAT 8-9, PSAT 10, and PSAT NMSQT. So all of the assessments will be available for ordering through the same test ordering system, and that system will open this month. The first administration of the redesigned PSAT NMSQT will take place in October, and during the initial year of the redesigned PSAT NMSQT, there will be 2 administrations on 2 Wednesdays, 2 weeks apart. So October 14th, which is the recommended test date, and October 28th, which is the alternate test date. So there will not be a Saturday administration available in the first year of the administration, and we realize that school day testing does represent a significant change for some schools that may impact instructional time and create scheduling challenges. We are committed to offering a Saturday administration again in the 2016-2017 school year. So from an administration perspective, PSAT 8-9 will be administered during a fall testing window that's 4 months, running from October 2015 through January 2016. For those schools and districts that are looking at administering PSAT 8-9 and PSAT NMSQT, and potentially even offering an SAT school day administration, all of that can be done on the PSAT NMSQT fall date for October 14th. In the spring, the PSAT 8-9 and PSAT testing window will happen during a 2-week time frame from late February into early March. And that provides you a lot more flexibility as to when you're going to administer PSAT 10 to your 10th graders, rather than if you've got some constraints about space and can't administer to both 10th and 11th grade in the fall, this gives you that opportunity to move your 10th graders to the spring. And then finally, the redesigned SAT will launch in March of 2016. So spending a few minutes talking about the test ordering site, this will allow schools and districts to order test materials, as I said, for PSAT NMSQT, PSAT 10, PSAT 8-9, all in one place, and they'll be able to place orders for both the fall and spring administrations. The test ordering site will be available through the EPL, the Educator Professional Login account, which, for those of you who are familiar with this, is the same as the PNO login or the PSAT NMSQT ordering login. April 9th was the go-live date, and then on the 27th, emails will be sent to schools and to the 2014 EPP district primary contact that won't have the access code. And then registration announcements, the mailer announcement will arrive to schools starting on the 27th as well, and the mailer announcement will have the access code information included. So for obvious reasons, for emails, we're not sending an access code that way, but we will send it in the regular mailer that we've always sent the same way. From an access code perspective, for schools, the access code will be the same as last year's. And so if you accessed into the new site, you will be able to place orders if you know your access code from last year. For districts, the EPP districts will receive their access codes on a rolling basis as their contracts are renewed, and transactional districts will receive their access codes via the paper mailer that we mentioned. So the test ordering windows and what that looks like, I think this slide is fairly self-explanatory, but to take you through it, so for the PSAT NMSQT test dates in this October, the 14th and the 28th of October, ordering opens in mid-April, and the order deadline is September 25th. For PSAT 8-9 in the fall window, the ordering opens at the same time, and schools should make sure that they order their test materials at least 4 weeks prior to their testing week. So schools will need to make sure that when they know when they're going to order, when they know when they're going to test, within that 4-month window, they want to make sure that they back out their ordering approximately 4 weeks from whenever that is. So there's a lot of flexibility in that, but you're going to need to leave a window in order to receive those materials and get set up. From a spring perspective, for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9, you'll notice that all of the dates are the same. The test window dates are the same from February 22nd through March 4th, And then ordering opens at the same time across the entire portal, as you'll see. And then the order deadline will be on January 27th. So I do want to highlight the call out at the bottom of the slide that deadlines for international schools are earlier than the dates above to allow for that additional shipping time. And when you receive that registration announcement, that information will be available there and also on the website itself. So, I am aware that I have taken you through an extraordinary amount of information in a fairly compact period of time, and I know that there have been some questions. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Lori so that she can talk about some key resources, and then we'll come back and make sure that we do answer all of your questions.
Okie dokie. Yes, thank you, Jennifer, for the information. It is a lot of information, and we know that. However, that's why we have had multiple webinars beginning in the month of beginning earlier in October to walk us through the information as it becomes available. So please be aware, and we have received some questions for those who logged in a little bit later. This webinar is being recorded and will be available after the presentation. You will have access to the recorded webinar as well as the presentation. That will come to you in a follow-up email. Links will be available for you. And also, this webinar will be archived on our website at www.collegeboard.org/CW, and on the right rail, you will see the link and access to the link that says on-demand webinars. And so all of the webinars related to the redesigned assessments and all of our counselor webinars are available for your pleasure at any time. I wanted to be able to share with you information about tools and resources that relate specifically to counselors and the redesigned assessments. To give you a little quick overview of information that has been provided and is slated to be coming down the pipe, wanted to share with you the calendar of information. In January and February, there were mailers, postcards, and brochures that were mailed to approximately 60,000 counselors across the country to give information or a heads up about the redesigned assessment. This month, counselors also received a hard copy counselor resource guide to the redesigned assessment. This resource guide is a comprehensive overview of information relating to the redesigned assessments, everything from PSAT 8-9, PSAT 10, PSAT NMSQT, and the SAT. Information about test specifications, timelines, and resources and tools to help you with conversations with your students, parents, and families. In April 2015, Jennifer just shared that the PSAT NMSQT ordering cycle opens. We have information about the Khan Academy resources launch. Please also be aware that recently the PSAT practice test has been made available, and that is located on the site www, and all of this will be available again in writing for you if you're not close to a pen and paper, www.collegereadiness.collegeboard.org. collegereadiness.collegeboard.org. There is a full-length practice test, PSAT practice test available for you to download and work through with your students, and that is also the site where you can access the online or PDF version of the counselor resource guide to the redesigned assessment. October 2015, the first administration of PSAT, we know is right around the corner, and then finally in March 2016, the first administration of the redesigned SAT. For those of you who have received this counselor resource guide, the mailing is ongoing. It started in the middle of March and should continue through the middle of April. However, in the interim, as I shared, this information is available, or this resource is available on collegereadiness.collegeboard.org, and you can download this information at your leisure. For those who receive the hard copy, I wanted to make a note that in the back of this guide, there are a number of resource pages that are perforated so that they can be easily removed and copied for any presentations, any conversations, any advisement sessions that you might have with parents and or students. Wanted to give you information also and to review some of the webinars that have been hosted through College Board and the Membership Mobilization Team. Again, these webinars have been archived and are available for your viewing online at the site collegeboard.org/CW. And looking ahead, particularly for those topics related to the redesigned assessment, Jennifer shared with you that on May 19th, we will have a webinar, Khan Academy Practice Resources for all students, that will go more in depth about the processes, the benefits, the applications related to the Khan Academy resource and the collaboration we have with Khan Academy to support students in their practice for the PSAT and SAT. And then finally in June, Understanding Scores and Reporting will happen on, or is scheduled for, June 9th. And in addition to that, we just hope that in the interim, should you have a question or if need additional information, we are available, and that information as far as contact will be provided in this webinar as well. Finally, wanting to share with you a way to keep abreast of conversations and to facilitate those online questions through joining the College Board School Counselors online community. This is an opportunity that will allow you and others and with your colleagues to engage in discussions about the redesigned assessments and other issues that are pertinent to counseling professionals. An opportunity to network with school counselors across the country and access up-to-date information on college readiness. Another opportunity that we would like to call your attention to is the For More campaign. That has been a great opportunity and resource to support those school counselors and college counselors who are working with students daily to ensure that they research appropriately and make great decisions about college opportunities beyond high school, and supporting them in making decisions to apply to at least 4 colleges. This campaign, we already have 6,000 counselors who have already committed to support. It provides information, tools, and resources that are only available to these pledged counselors, additional professional development opportunities, and local and national recognition opportunities, as well as a free PDF of the College Board source book, which from those of us who were counselors and are counselors, it was the counselor's Bible in many cases, because it was one-stop shopping for everything that you needed to know and do to support your daily work with students. And now we have an opportunity, of course, for our questions. I think, and I know, based on this list that I'm looking at, we've had lots of great questions, and this will be an opportunity for us to answer those questions as they have come in. So at this time, should you have a question, please access the drop-down menu at the top of your screen, click on the chat feature, and input your question and send, so that we will have time to get to it before the close of the webinar.
And with that, I will start working my way through some of these. So there's a question that asks, have colleges indicated how they will use the subscores? And that's a great question, and one we get frequently. So right now, most colleges and universities, all the ones we've spoken with whom we've spoken, have been pretty clear with us that they are really only interested in using the total score and the section scores, the same information that they've historically received and used in order to make admissions decisions. We are going to be working closely with a lot of institutions, those that have raised their hand and want more information, to figure out with them what the subscores mean on their campuses. We're working closely with colleges and universities right now to make sure that they can ingest all of this information, and then we will be keeping their institutional research departments quite busy figuring out what this data means with respect to the students who apply, who are admitted, and who graduate successfully, and how to understand what that means for their student population. Ultimately, we believe that this information and what they think this information will be used for is more along the lines of placement decisions and understanding students who may need additional support. They are not indicating at this time that they're looking to use this information for admissions purposes, and really right now it's fairly meaningless until they understand what it means in the context of their campus. And so that's what we're going to be working with higher ed on over the course of the next couple of years to understand this information. There's a question that asks, with PSAT scores for 10th grade test takers be shown as percentiles, will you have the ability to understand how students are comparing against other sophomores? Yeah, so similar with PSAT 8-9, that there's a norm for 8th grade and a norm for 9th grade and all that percentile information, that information will also be reported out separately for PSAT 10 for 10th graders or PSATNMSQT with 10th graders who take it versus 11th graders who take it. So there will be specific 10th grade information available either through PSATNMSQT or through PSAT 10. I'm scrolling. So there's a question here that asks about the percentage of schools throughout the country that administer the PSAT-NMSQT on Wednesday, and actually it is the vast majority of schools that administer PSAT-NMSQT on Wednesdays. I don't have the exact percentage number, but I know that it is a significant majority of the schools. There's a question that asks whether My College Quick Start uses Khan. And I'm not sure that I'm totally understanding this question, but I will offer this explanation, and if I'm not getting what you're saying, you can please write back. My College Quick Start won't use Khan. What it will do is Khan will replace certain aspects of My College Quick Start. So there is a study plan program that is available through My College Quick Start that students will now be able to do through Khan, and it'll have much deeper, much more personalized, customized information than My College Quick Start ever provided before. So My College Quick Start over time will be going away or will be parsed out to other areas where we've been busy developing better resources for both counselors and educators and students. So I hope that gets at your question, but if it doesn't, you let me know. Will AP scores be listed on the College Board account? Great question. So AP scores will be listed through the AP online score reporting site, which is different from the suite of assessment sites for now, but students should be able to access both with the same login, and the same way we're trying to make that easier for educators as well. So the college readiness assessments will be reported in one place and the AP results will be reported in another, but students should be able to easily transfer back and forth for that information. And maybe eventually one day we'll connect those. College Board account has the actual SAT accounts or just the practice ones? I'm sorry, I'm not sure I really understand that question.
I don't either.
Okay. So
I think the next question is, will the personality profiler remain available on My College Quick Start?
So if personality profile is part of the MyRoad resources, which I think it is, yes, it will remain available through MyRoad. And so we said that MyRoad will continue to exist for the 16-17 school year, so students should be able to get to that. And I think people mostly got to MyRoad through My College Quick Start, but I believe that there are direct ways to get to MyRoad as well, and we'll make sure that people have access to that information. I believe that, so there are questions here about the SAT school day date. It will be in March. I don't have that exact information right now, but we can make a note and try and get that information to you, or have your regional representative get that information back to you. So there's a question about Khan Academy and materials for the upcoming PSAT-NMSQT, the redesigned PSAT-NMSQT being administered in the fall. So I want to make a pretty clear distinction here that Khan Academy is preparation for the SAT. Now, students will be able to get good practice information for PSAT-NMSQT because of how closely aligned the assessments are. But Khan Academy is ultimately, it's called the Khan Academy SAT practice program. and it's designed to prepare students for the SAT, leveraging some of their earlier grade assessments and information that they are willing to share with Khan. So students who use the Khan platform will get good practice for the PSAT-NMSQT because of the alignment, but they will not get a specific practice program for the PSAT-NMSQT. They will get one for the SAT. Booklets of redesigned. So the paper booklets for the redesigned PSAT-NMSQT and PSAT-10 be shipped for distribution. That is part of the summer, what we affectionately refer to as the summer bulk mailing or the summer counselor mailing, and that'll happen. It goes in waves, but everybody should have them by the end of August, pretty much. Our winter PSAT test windows in sync with SAT state testing. So. Yes, if I understand what you're asking here is whether schools will be able to administer the PSAT-NMSQT and or PSAT-8-9 on the same date as an SAT school day administration, and the answer to that is yes for PSAT-8-9, PSAT-10, PSAT-NMSQT, sorry, in the fall, PSAT-8-9, PSAT-NMSQT, which can be for 10th or 11th graders, and SAT, and in the spring, you would be able to administer PSAT-8-9, PSAT-10 for your 10th graders, and the SAT all on the same date. So the SAT school day dates will align within those windows. Can students in grades 9 and 10 still take the PSAT-NMSQT, or do they have to take the other tests? Great question, and one we get fairly regularly. So we are strongly encouraging schools that have been administering PSAT-NMSQT to their 9th graders to look to administer PSAT-8-9 for their 9th graders. We believe that the changes that we've made to these assessments will give you much better, richer, more detailed, and grade level appropriate information that will make it much easier for you to track and help your students effectively based on the resources that we're providing. But if you choose to administer PSAT-NMSQT to your 9th graders, we will not stop you, but we strongly encourage you to reconsider. PSAT-10, 10th graders have always been able to take PSAT-NMSQT in the fall, and they will continue to be able to do so. Will the PSAT-NMSQT remain paper and pencil? Yes. And how long before going computer-based? I don't have the answer to that question.
Not tomorrow.
Yes, it is not tomorrow. We are looking at doing some digital piloting work, but we are not there yet, and we'll share that information as we get closer to it. Students from grade 9, will they be able to take the PSAT-10? So I think I kind of answered that question relative to PSAT-NMSQT. We're strongly encouraging you to look at grade level appropriate assessments. But if you wanted 9th graders, I suppose, to take PSAT-10 in the spring, you could, but we really think it's a better opportunity to have them take PSAT-9 and use that norming and benchmark information that will be available. Should 10th grade students be should 10th grade students be encouraged to take both the October and spring administration of PSAT? So this is a question that I have received numerous times, and I'm making sort of a face, but you can't see me, but I'm making a little bit of a face, which is sort of goes, you could, but we are not encouraging that. That is not something that we believe is going to be particularly helpful in understanding your students' progress over time. The reason we're offering PSAT-NMSQT PSAT-10 in the spring is because one of the key pieces of feedback we were receiving is that there are a lot of schools and states and districts that do spring over spring over spring evaluations, and so they wanted to be able to have that spring opportunity. It's not intended for students to be able to test twice in the same year so that you can keep on doing that. That's not the intended usage here. I think I've answered, can you give PSAT-8-9 on the same date as PSAT-NMSQT? The answer to that is yes. How will the summary of answers and skills report change with the redesigned PSAT? So the customized reporting portal for educators will give you access to everything that, well, a lot of things that were in the SOAS report, but also you'll have the ability to customize much more deeply than you ever, well, than you couldn't do on the SOAS report. So you'll be able to create custom groups, drill down features, sort by all kinds of things that were not available through the summary of answers and skills. So you'll actually have a much more robust way of looking at all of this information than you've ever had before. Pricing for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 will be available in the test ordering system or in the portal itself, and I believe it's also available on our website right now, so you can go there and look at collegereadiness.collegeboard.org, and you can find that information. Unfortunately, though I don't know it off the top of my head. I think I hit all the questions.
I think so as well. I think there's one. Oh, there is one that asks, will the question and answer service be available for SAT in January 2016, I'm assuming, instead of 2017?
So,
will question and answer
so January 2016 will still be the current SAT.
Exactly.
So if January has historically been a Q&A date, then that will continue to be a Q&A date.
I think that's the last one. So I thank you. I think we're right on time as far as the scheduled time for the webinar. We will make sure, again, that this information is made available to you. As soon as the webinar closes, within 24 hours, you will receive an email that asks you to complete a survey, and then also provides you with a link to the recorded webinar as well as the presentation so that you can have access to this. Ultimately, if you miss that email, then you will be able to access the recorded webinar on the on-demand site located at the Counselor Workshop page on College Board's site. So I want to thank you for your participation today and the questions that have been shared with us. This is a great opportunity to learn about all of the updates that are related to the redesigned assessment, to keep abreast of changes that will help you better answer questions coming from your parents and coming from your community. So I thank you for taking time out of your day to learn more in order to be more aware of what's going on and how to best serve your parents and students. So at this time, we will close the webinar, and again, thank you for your participation. We look forward to having you and hosting you on the next webinar sponsored by the Membership Mobilization and Engagement Team. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.